Jebeniah slept for 2 days after the cave ordeal. During those 2 days, a massive winter storm rolled into the region and covered everything with 3 feet of snow. Jebeniah's supplies were running dangerously low, and he knew that he would have to brave the elements and go into town. He dug a small sled out from the snow that Pete had left at the claim. He was about to hit the trail that led down to town when he had a thought as he gazed at frozen Mirror Lake. He realized if he went straight across the lake instead of using the section of trail that looped around the lake, it would save him hours of frozen travel to town. He stepped out onto the snow-covered lake to test the thickness of the ice. He really wasn't too concerned, as the temperatures had been well below freezing for the past several weeks. He jumped up and down a couple of times and deemed it safe for passage. As he went out further onto the lake, dragging the empty sled, he felt as though he was in a new place. A place that he had never experienced before in the Klondike. He felt like a tiny dot in this vast, flat, white, treeless landscape. At one point, he turned around and could see Dead Man's Gulch in the distance. It seemed small and inconsequential against the forest, mountains, and sky. He pulled the sled to the other side of Mirror Lake and got back on the trail to town. The lake crossing saved him at least 2 hours, he figured. When Jebeniah got back to Dawson Spur, he went straight to the North Star Saloon, as usual. This was the longest time that Jebeniah stayed in town. At this point, he was rich and had plenty of gold dust to throw around. In fact, he had gold fever, and gold is all he ever thought about. And the bed at the Nugget Hotel sure was more comfortable than the bunk at Dead Man's Gulch. And of course, Dead Man's Gulch didn't have the North Star Saloon, which Jebeniah was now a regular at. After 2 weeks of Jebeniah's town shenanigans, he knew it was time to get back to work. Although he had plenty of gold at camp, his pockets were empty, so he needed to get back to Dead Man's Gulch. On a bright, sunny morning, he checked out of the Nugget Hotel, packed his sled with supplies from Duffy's Dry Goods, and set out on the trail to Dead Man's Gulch. As he dragged his loaded sled through the forest, his face was warmed by the sun. The birds were singing, and he thought, "This is the nicest day I have seen since fall." After a while, he made it to the edge of Mirror Lake, where he stopped for a rest. As he scanned the frozen lake, he could still make out his tracks from the initial crossing 2 weeks ago. "That crossing saved me 2 hours going to town, and now it's going to save me 2 hours going back to the gulch." He pulled his sled out onto the ice. When Jebeniah got out into the middle of the lake, he once again felt like a tiny dot in the immense, white, endless landscape. A light breeze blew across the lake as he kept trudging through the soft snow. Dead Man's Gulch appeared on the far side of the lake. He picked up his pace in excitement. The lake ice started to make moaning sounds. He tried not to pay attention and focused on getting off the lake, moving faster now. The moaning sounds were growing louder as he got closer to the shore. His heart was pounding. He was breathing heavily. He was 150 yards from the shore when he heard a hollow crack that went up through his feet and into his bones. All at once, the sun disappeared. As he fell through the ice, the cold water hit him like 1,000 needles. It stole his breath away. He was able to surface for a moment, flailing at the edges of the ice around the hole his body had created. The ice crumbles in his hands. There's nothing to grab onto. His buffalo hide that he was wearing becomes waterlogged and pulls him down. He is under. Above, he sees the cloudy ice ceiling. He tries slamming his fists against it, creating only dull thuds. Bubbles come out of his mouth. The surface growing farther away as he is being pulled down by his heavy wet clothes and gear. It's growing darker and darker as he sees the surface growing further and further away. A calm comes over his body. A warm feeling fills him. He watches the light from the surface fade away. Down he floats, arms stretched out. Rays of light are glinting through the ice ceiling like God's hands coming out of the clouds. His back settles on the bottom of the lake, his head looking towards the surface. One ray of light is on his face. His eyes close. Bubbles flow out of his mouth.
You'll never rest. You'll never rest. You'll forever wander in the gloom of death. And I am going to be rich.
Jeb's eyes open. There is a voice calling from the surface of the lake. Jebeniah floats to the voice. He then hears the voice calling from deep in the forest. The voice leads him towards town. Jebeniah reaches the edge of the town and stops. There's a silence he doesn't recognize. It's not a peaceful silence, but a vacant silence. He stares confused into the dark, silent town. He walks down Main Street. Grass has grown on the street. The buildings are the same, but somehow eerily different. What once was a bustling town is now quiet. No people. No life. He follows the voice to the only light he sees in town. And that is coming from inside the North Star Saloon. He enters. But the saloon is completely different than anything he remembers. There are people gathered in a circle on the floor around candles that are burning brightly. He recognizes none of their faces. They're wearing strange clothes he's never seen before. It seems to him that they are from another place. They call out,
Jebeniah, can you hear me?
Show yourself.
We are gathered here to call the spirit of Jebeniah Jones.
Are you with us, Jebeniah?
Jebeniah knocks over a bar stool in anger.
Jebeniah, we feel your presence. Your soul needs to be at peace. You are stuck between realms. You passed over 100 years ago. It's time to move on to the other side.
It must be a bad dream. He rushes out of the saloon and into the streets. He trips and falls face first to the ground. He pulls himself up on a post that is directly in front of him. On it is a mounted plaque, and it reads, "This is the famous North Star Saloon from the gold rush of the 1890s. Many fortunes have been spent here. Many people have had their dreams come true here. Many dreams were crushed here, and many have died from the rough and tumble times of that era. Some say they can still hear a ghost from those days calling out, 'I am Jebeniah Jones, and I am going to be rich.'" Reading these words steals the breath from his lungs. No, it cannot be. He runs past the darkened buildings, away from the silent saloon, back toward Dead Man's Gulch, boots striking earth that make no sound. He does not stop until he reaches Mirror Lake. He stops at the shore, chest heaving. The water reflects the trees, the sky, the empty shoreline behind him. But not him. His breath falters. Slowly, understanding creeps in. "I fell in," he whispers. The memory returns all at once. The sudden drop, the shock of cold water swallowing his lungs, the weight of his clothes dragging him down into the dark. You'll never find peace. Your soul will wander in the gloom of death. Jebeniah closes his eyes. For a long moment, he says nothing. Then, "Oh, it must be true." His hands move to his coat. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out his pouch of gold dust. Worthless now. The gold dust slides through his hand and into the dirt. He steps forward. The water accepts him without resistance. No splash, no cry, no ripple. The moon remains whole upon the surface. On the shore, the gold glitters in the dust. Untouched, unwanted, and the lake is still. Some men spend their whole lives chasing wealth, only to find they've drowned themselves in the process without even knowing it. Sometimes, enough is enough. Until next time, prospectors of horror.
Please like and subscribe to keep the horror coming. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Stop by hotheadhorrors.com to pick up some merch if you like.